My name is Al Fuentes. Um, I am a mental coach. I'm a speaker. I get to do a lot of really great things, travel the world to do that. And I've been doing my personal work for 15 years, been doing the business and personal development coaching now for 13. And I'm on this call with Heather because we kind of collaborated and decided that there's two big pieces right now that are kind of missing is some collective on what the stimulus package is. And there's just so much information out there, and the package itself has so many details. So Heather has such great wisdom, and she's done a lot of work in being a resource for all of her clients as a financial planner. And I have the side of it, of the emotional side, the expertise when it comes to how people are handling just finances right now, their mindset around it, kind of feeling like this time in our lives is very big. And when that happens, a lot of people tend to lose their relationship with money, lose their relationship even with their normalcy of life. And so we want to make sure that, one, you guys have an understanding of this package so that you can look to how you can grow your monthly income right now, and how you can reduce some of your outgo expenses. And the stimulus will address that, and then also give people some understanding of how you can stay very mindful during this time while you're making financial decisions. So with that, I really do want to turn it over to Heather so that she can really take control of this beautiful presentation she's put together. I'm going to continue to add as we go. And if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask during. We will have a time. There's two sections. There's the personal side, which really does apply to everybody, whether you're a small business, whether you're an individual. The first half of this presentation that Heather's put together speaks to pretty much everybody. And then the second half is small business. In between those two, we'll have a time for questions. And then people can decide whether or not they want to stay on for the small business portion, which does apply to self-employed people too. So again, we're excited to have you. Thank you guys all so much for coming. And with that, I will turn it over to Heather.
Hi all, good morning. So I'm Heather Townsend. I have my own financial planning firm. I started it a little over 2 years ago because I realized that my friends and family had nowhere to go for trusted financial advice. So I am a fiduciary and fee only, and what that means is I literally took a legal oath to act in my client's best interest at all times, because that's really what I believe all clients and people should receive from their financial advisor. Hopefully we can get that as a law, like a real law one day. That would be great. And then a little other about myself. I'm a certified financial planner, CPA, and certified student loan professional. And I'm working on another credential. I seem to have a credential collecting problem. So let's get into this.
If you have, just one real quick, someone has some kids in the background, just remember, please mute your microphone on your own. And then if you have something, you have a question, unmute yourself. That way we don't have a lot of background noise.
Okay. AJ, you raised your hand too. Do you have a question?
I was just going to say, I kept hearing all this feedback. I was just going to say.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So, really quick, you guys, just to make my lawyer happy, I'm not going to read this to you, don't worry, but just know that, you need to, I'm not trying to sell any investments. We're not even going to talk about investments today, actually. And to please, make sure you do your research for your own sake too. But now my lawyer's happy, my disclaimer's here, so let's get into the good stuff. All right, so this $2 trillion stimulus package was passed last Friday. It's almost 900 pages. I've been going through it all weekend and throughout the week as information is coming in. Literally, it's changing daily with new information, but there are so many goodies in this for people that are really going through a hard time. So one of them is the IRS is giving these rebate checks. So I'm going to go through who's getting them, how to know if you're getting them, when you're getting them, and where. Student loan payments can be deferred, federal student loan payments. So I'll be talking about that and strategies with regard to that. Unemployment got a huge bonus, so unemployment benefits. So I'll be going through those. Tax deadlines have been extended. And then there are loans that can be forgiven for small businesses. All right, so government sending you money. So in the stimulus package, they are giving money to individual taxpayers, and it's supposed to reach about 90% of taxpayers. So quite a few people. And it's based off of your 2018 or your 2019 tax return. And it's the latest filed tax return. So if you haven't filed your 2019 tax return yet, it will be based off your 2018 tax return. And how it is there are phase outs. So you get the full rebate check amount. If you're single at 75,000, couple at 150,000, and then it phases out as such. And so $1,200 is for single the max and $2,400 for a couple. If you're head of household, it starts phasing out at $12,500. And if you have kids, it's an additional $500 per kid for any child that is under the age of 17. So how can you know how much you made? What income number are they looking at? I included the lines from your 1040. So it's line 7 on your 2018 tax return and line 8B on your 2019 tax return. So quite a few questions that come with this is, how am I getting this money? So if you filed your tax return and on there you have your direct deposit information, it will be going to that bank account. If you don't have your direct deposit, then it's going to go information on your tax return. You're going to get a check in the mail. Now, if this information is incorrect or outdated, the IRS is supposed to provide a portal where people can actually update their banking information so they can get it faster. I have included a link with this PowerPoint where the IRS is updating information on these stimulus checks as they have it. They're expected to do that portal, I believe, by the middle of April. And the other good news about this money is it's not taxable. It's actually considered a credit. And so there are some planning tips that I do want to say here. The IRS has said that if you, for example, let's say you qualify based on your 2018 tax return, but on your 2019 tax return, you made way more money, you're not going to qualify, and you haven't filed yet, you get the check in the mail, and then you later go and file your 2019 tax return, they are actually saying they're not going to make you pay it back. Now, that's really interesting to me, and I think great. So basically, I would say be mindful of when you file your tax return and which tax return you would qualify on. Tax return deadlines have been extended to where you now don't have to file your federal tax return until July 15th. So, and many states are following. So just keep that in mind. Now, let's say 2020, that's the year that everyone's probably income is going to be down, unfortunately. And so like, Heather, this is the year I'm going to qualify. This is the year I need it. They are saying that there's going to be a true up on our 2020 tax return and to see if you qualify, and you'll get the credit in 2021 when you file. I know that's not the greatest news because you probably need the money now, but that is what they are saying. So,
Heather, there's some strategy here. So essentially what you're saying is, if you do qualify under 2018, you haven't done your 2019, stretch your filing time and really wait until June, July, whenever the deadline is. In that way, because in the next 3 weeks or so, they're going to be looking at how you qualify, and that's when they're going to release the checks within that time frame, right?
Yeah, and they have said that they're not going to take it back. Yeah. So that's definitely something to think about. And when, I didn't cover, thank you for that, Al, when everyone's kind of thinking it's going to be May with how, to get all this money to all these people. The IRS did say, though, that they're going to try to get it out within 3 weeks. So we'll see. All right. So Besides the stimulus checks, there are some other ways you can change your money, your income, and payments on your debt. So one way is with this act, the CARES Act, the stimulus package, they're allowing you to defer your federal student loan payments through September 30th, 2020. And it gets even better than that. They aren't going to be charging you interest in those 6 months. And if you're on a income forgiveness plan, like repeat PAYE, public student loan forgiveness, any of those, these months are still going to count towards it. So even if you defer your federal student loans, you're not being charged interest, and those payments are still going to count towards your forgiveness. That is huge. So here, this is one of the areas where I say there are a lot of strategies. Even if you aren't in maybe a really tough spot, because one, it's not really going to hurt you if you defer, if you have some other more pressing things. For example, if you don't have your emergency savings right now, stop your federal loan student payments and put them in your emergency savings. If you have higher credit card debt or private student loan debt, put those payments towards those. And they are saying, the federal government is saying that it's going to be automatic, that they're just going to stop these payments. I don't know if I completely trust that. I'm just being honest, in the sense that the student loan servicers will catch up and stop it. So I would advise to sign on to your student loan servicer's website and pause them. If you're one of the lucky that have, your emergency savings fully funded, your income's not changing, you don't have any other debt really, you're going to be able to pay your federal student loans off faster because you're not going to be charged interest right now. So there's just a lot of planning opportunities here, and really good for those that are not, that have been let go of their job or something like that right now.
And the key with this one is it's a no penalty option.
Yeah.
And that's the key here, is to reduce your expenses out at no penalty. That's what this line is providing.
Yeah. Now, keep in mind that that's only for federal student loans. So if you have private student loans, this doesn't apply. So call your institution. Institutions are really willing to work with you right now. But just keep in mind, I would only do that if your income has changed and you really need to do that. Now, the unemployment benefit being increased, I mean, it got a massive bonus, you guys. There's no better way I can say it. The biggest part of it is that, so what has happened with unemployment is the federal government, with this stimulus package, is giving states money to basically increase their unemployment benefit. So one way that they're doing this is they are saying that you can now get an additional $600 a week on top of your unemployment benefit. Now, in Arizona, the state that I live in, your maximum unemployment benefit you can receive is $240 a week. So if, let's say, you're in the range of receiving unemployment between $100 and $240, so let's say you get, I don't know, $150 a week from unemployment right now. With this, you're now going to receive $750 a week, an additional $600 a week. That's crazy. That is basically tripling it. That's really incredible. So that's a huge benefit. It is through your state that you need to apply. The other thing I will say, there's two other benefits with unemployment. So the $600 the federal government is paying for 4 months. The unemployment 1 week has been waived. So normally you had to wait a week to apply. Now that whole week period has been waived. So just if you lost your job or your income got reduced or anything like that, go apply. You don't have to wait. And the other thing is that it has been extended to 39 months. So the stimulus package has extended unemployment benefits by 13 weeks to make it up to 39 weeks that you can have unemployment benefit. So that's close to 9 months. So that's a long time. The other biggest thing that's gotten a lot of attention is a lot of people that couldn't qualify for an unemployment benefit before now can. Self-employed, gig economy workers like Uber, Lyft, 1099 contractors. So that's a really big deal.
Can we kind of just, because there was a lot of numbers there, so let's just break down just a simple construct of math.
Yeah.
If you qualify for unemployment, no matter what the number is, essentially the bonus for 4 months is you're going to get an additional $9,600, regardless of what your unemployment is. It could be any range from 50 to max of 240 in Arizona, or whatever state you're in, it's whatever that max is, depending on what you qualify for. But regardless of that, let's just forget about that number. Just the $600, if we did simple math, $600 a week times 4 weeks times 4 months ends up being roughly $9,600. So for the next 4 months, and the only asterisk here is that it's whenever the government catches up and does this and makes it think, but when they finally catch up to what they've already committed to, you're going to look at another $9,600 for the next 4 months. That's the basic math on top of whatever your unemployment is you're getting per week. So just think of that. So the next 4 months you can think of, okay, I'm going to get an additional $9,600. On top of that, two other big things that I heard you say, Heather, was one, self-employment is now qualifying. There's more people now than ever they're qualifying. So if you didn't qualify before, or you don't think you qualified, just double check, because it doesn't hurt to try again, or to ask, or to follow up. And the other detail is, you mentioned this, and we didn't talk about this, Heather, but so if I have a reduced, let's just say I'm used to making 10 grand a month, and my boss tells me, listen, due to the economy, due to everything, we can only pay you 3 grand now. Now I'm missing 7 grand. Can you do a partial unemployment?
Yeah, so partial unemployment benefit now exists as well. It's been extended to if your income has decreased.
And then, so once I qualify for unemployment based on this partial concept, so I don't even have to be out of a job. I can apply because I've gotten a reduced salary, so to speak. And then not only do I qualify for unemployment, then I still qualify for that extra $9,600, right?
Well, I will say, I don't know how they're going to do the $600 because it is dependent on states. They are saying that the federal government is saying everyone is going to get this $600 benefit. But keep in mind, it's the states that are going to roll this out and have to interpret the rules. And that has not been done yet. States are trying to catch up. So I don't know how it would work with the partial.
But it is possible.
Then you'd only receive $300. We don't know how that would work.
Right.
But I will say, so on Arizona's unemployment website, they have said that the federal government has not given them the money for this yet, or the guidelines. It's coming, but this was just passed a week ago. So, I don't have any information yet how the states are going to roll it out, and each state is going to be different.
But it is refreshing, at least for fully unemployed, this $9,600. On top of that, I didn't realize, to be honest with you, that if you got just a reduction in your income, that you can still qualify for unemployment. And then there's the potential for the extra 600, or whatever variable that each state determines you should get out of that.
Yeah, but I mean, unemployment is getting a huge increase, and for those that need it, more can qualify, longer you can receive it and receive more. So it's great. It's really great for those in need, definitely.
Yeah. I did have a question. I'm sorry. I don't know if you prefer to raise a hand or for us just to ask.
Perfect. Ashley, go ahead.
Thank you so much. I apologize. If you're a business owner and your business had to close, so essentially you're also unemployed, can you also apply for unemployment?
Yeah, because self-employed is now eligible.
Okay, perfect. I'll have more questions down the road, but keep going. Thanks.
Thanks, Ashley.
Okay, so let's move on from unemployment to, there's a few other last resorts that I do want to focus on. quickly to just know if you are really, this isn't enough, or you need some other options. One is you are able to get mortgage forbearance definitely on federally backed mortgages. Other institutions where they aren't federally backed are willing to work with you. I would say, again, these are last resorts. There are things you really need to be aware of if you go after the mortgage forbearance. Car loans, I know some car loans are doing it as well. Again, that would be a last resort, I would say. And retirement accounts. So with the CARES Act, this is quite interesting. So historically, or really any time, you cannot pull money out of your retirement accounts until you're over 59 and a half. Well, and if you do, you're penalized, right? And taxed. Now, with this stimulus package, the government is allowing you to pull out $100,000 from your retirement accounts, penalty-free. You're still going to be taxed, so please keep that in mind. You'll still be taxed, but they're allowing you to pay that tax over 3 years through the end of 2022. So also, when you pull money out of retirement accounts, you normally have to have mandatory withholding. That's now waived for this as well. And let's say you're like, oh, this is my last resort, I'm going to do it, but I really don't want to do this. It's okay, because the next year, let's say the economy comes back, which we all know it's going to, and in 2021, you're making all that money, and you're like, you go pay back what you took out of your retirement account. They'll give you a credit for those taxes that you already paid. They'll give you a refund. The other thing that got changed in the stimulus package is loans from retirement accounts, employer retirement accounts. Historically, you can only take out a loan of $50,000 up to 50% of your account balance. Now you can take out $100,000 in a loan, and then up to 100% of your vested balance. Now, that's the one I would really be careful of with loans, because if you leave your employer or your employer lets you go, those loans can sometimes become immediately due. So just, if you are going to go that route, please know all the things of in and out with that. But that is another option. So those are some of the options for the individuals. Al, do you want to open up for questions now?
Yeah, let me speak to the last resorts and just the mindset right now of where we're at. It's really important for people to be clear on reality versus possibility. And when you start looking at mortgage forbearance, car loans, things like that, for some people who are going to go into desperation mode and they're going to start taking loans out, or they're going to start pulling things just because they want to have the toilet paper mindset, which is the just in case, and everybody buys a bunch of toilet paper, and how much is the toilet paper for anyway? But that scarcity mindset can be very dangerous, because it can make you make rash decisions. It can make you do things that may not be for your best interest. It may stifle you versus create the security you're looking for. So when you're doing these things, you want to make sure that you're super mindful mentally and energetically on strategically doing absolutely what is needed right now to keep you at least in status quo. Not necessarily trying to stockpile a bunch, but not also being in deficit. If some of these things like mortgage forbearance or car loans or pulling from retirement keep you out of deficit, then there's most likely going to be some financial make sense decisions that are going to support doing those things. But if you're just starting to make moves as the just in case, which is what I would call the toilet paper mentality, then you want to be super mindful, because putting yourself in that kind of scarcity, putting yourself in these positions can limit your ability to create or to have a very sound mindset. So then you're relying on the security of these experiences versus believing that you are the security, that you're going to get through this. You just got to be more mindful. Maybe you tighten up. Maybe you have to make some moves. Maybe it inspires you to start that new business. Maybe it inspires you to do that one thing that you've been wanting to do, or to start expanding beyond what you normally would do and seek other business opportunities or other employment opportunities. It's amazing when we go into scarcity mode, the mind gets small, and this is literally a science thing. And we'll talk about that right now. Scarcity, fear, doubt, worry fires literal chemicals into the brain. The chemicals that go into the front of the mind start to cloud our ability to see bigger pictures, because the chemicals that are there actually stop the neurotransmitters of the brain from firing. They get in the way. This is where we're not talking in theory or metaphorical or even spiritual. We're literally talking science. Those chemicals of fear, doubt, and worry actually will sit in the front of the brain, and they'll get in the way of your ability to fire the brain more clearly. And when you try to have a bigger vision, you need your faculty, you need the front of your mind, you need this ability to fire efficiently to do that. And if you can't fire efficiently and you can't zoom out because the chemicals are in the way, then you're going to have a very narrow vision. And this is how people make some pretty big missteps in these times. It's normal, it's understandable, because it's just science. It's not personal. It's just the fact that you've got so many chemicals flooding through the brain alone. Then if you take those chemicals then after the brain, they start going into the body, back of the neck, joints, into organs, wherever they go. Now you're starting to let these chemicals settle within areas of the body, and that can also increase other potential health disruptions because of how many chemicals are coming in. And so you want to keep your immune system up. You got to get out of scarcity. You got to get out of fear, doubt, worry. It's not easy during this time. We're human. I get it. But the humanness can't overtake the bigger reality. If you've got money in the bank, if you have a savings account, if you can carry yourself during this time, and all you really need to do is maybe put some student loans on pause, and you can collect some unemployment, and you get this $9,600 boost, and this gets you by right now short term, then this is going to be the best thing for you. But you have to still back it up mentally with trust and confidence. And the only thing I can tell you is we're all here today, and as of right now, there's 32 people on the call. Everyone throughout their entire life has always figured it out up until this point. There's always been unknowns in your life when you look in your past. There's always times in your life you didn't know exactly how you were going to deal with something, but you always figured it out. And I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm not asking you to trust your future. I'm asking you to trust the history of your own past, because you're your own proof in this. So when you start realizing and looking back and realizing how you've always figured it out, this will give you a different kind of truth and trust. It'll start to calm all that firing that's going on, all the chemicals they're releasing, and then you can make very mindful and wise decisions and be smart about exactly what you're doing. And then for some people, they hire people like Heather to support them. Because for me, when it comes to finances, I'm not an expert by any means. And so I have people, I have an expert to handle my car. I have an expert to handle other areas, whether it be the people who do air conditioning or whatever else. I am not going to try to pretend I know everything about everything. So Heather's one of those financial experts that when I want to know about the stimulus package, this is who I'm talking to, because she's the one that this is her world. So I'm not going to try to make it my world. I'm just going to really lean on it. I'm going to know enough to know exactly who the people to turn to in all the areas of my life, because we all could use that support. So that's really what I want to say about the mindset, the emotions, and how we move forward in this time, and be very wise about that. And with that, I'll open it up to questions, because this is kind of more of the personal side of things. So anyone have any questions about this, what's been covered, or anything else that hasn't been covered?
Hey, Al. Hey, Heather. This is Lindsay. I have a question on the rebate check. So I've heard a couple of people say that those are you were going to have to repay those. I know you said that they're not taxable, but can you explain how that will work?
Yeah, so the IRS has actually said that you're not going to have to repay them. So that is what the legislation reads right now.
Okay, cool. Thank you for the clarification.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a one-off question, but I know you had mentioned like this last resort for all these different things that we can be doing. If someone, maybe myself, had pulled out of their 401k prior in the year, two questions on that. A, does that count as the income if you had already filed your 2019 taxes? I think I'm still waiting to see line 8. I think you said 8B. Or are they going to go off of your actual income from revenue from your job?
So I believe if I can memorize the 1040, I think your retirement, if you pulled it out, is going to count in that income. So just look at your tax return and it will show. I hope that answers your question. I think that's what your question was.
Yeah, I'm still waiting to get it back. So it's if I did file already for 2019, I don't think I'm getting anything because of that. And then if I didn't, then I definitely qualified. So it's been a rocky road trying to understand that. So I appreciate this meeting today.
Yeah, not a problem.
Hey, Heather. I have Steve on the phone with me. We couldn't figure out the Zoom, so he's going to ask for himself, if that's okay.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, Heather. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Great. I'll be as concise as I can. As a new company, we actually started in February. They're asking for revenue stream, of course, from 2019, which we don't have, and they want payroll and other expenses as of January 31st. I missed this deadline by about 2 weeks. I have 7 employees, and I have no ability of making any money right now. We are shut down. Is there recourse for me?
Steve, this is going to be great to cover. I'm going through the small business self-employed after we get through the individual, so I'm covering on that. This seems very business related, right? That's what I'm gathering. This is all business related.
You're 100% right. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't ending this before I got to ask this question.
Yeah, no. So after this, because there are some people that don't have small businesses or aren't self-employed. So we're going on to that next, but I wanted to just get through the individual stuff because it applies to everyone. And then people that don't have small businesses can then hop off because we're all busy. So I didn't want people to have to listen to stuff that didn't apply to them.
Thank you, and I'm sorry, everybody else.
Don't be sorry, Steve. I have that same question. So hooray for it later.
I'm going back on mute. I'm self-muting.
Perfect. Me too.
Any other questions? I do have resources before anyone hops off on the individual things. So stay on really quick so you can take a picture. Other questions? All right. So of the individual resources, the IRS does have a link about these rebate checks, updating information. So go there. A lot of great FAQs. And then if you're in Arizona, I gave a link to the Arizona unemployment website. If you are going to apply for it, what the Arizona unemployment says right now is that if you start receiving a benefit based on the Arizona unemployment, when they receive the $600, they will add that on top of it, the funding for the $600. So I'm imagining unemployment offices are very busy. So if you want to apply and you need that money, probably sooner the better. All right, so that's going to wrap up the individual section. So now we're going to move on to the small business and self-employed, 1099 contractors, all of that. So
if you are like a realtor, if you're somebody who's 100% commission, that's still, this next section still can apply to you, as well as anyone who has a small company, anything under 500. So, which I think is a pretty big company, but you know, they're still considering that from a government standpoint, small business.
All right, so yes. So take a drink of coffee. Here we go. It's some crazy stuff in here. Let's go. Oh, okay. Small businesses. So if you have less than 500 employees, there are 2 programs right now that are available to you. in getting money. And they're through the SBA, which is the Small Business Administration. So there is an EIDL grant, which is the Emergency Disaster Loan. There is a $10,000 grant that they are saying does not need to be repaid back. You can get it as soon as 3 days, and you apply through the SBA. So I've provided that link here, info and how to apply. Now this is, you apply for operating expenses. So all your operating expenses, including, you can apply for payroll. The other one that is getting a lot of attention is the Payment Protection Program. I'm going to refer to it as PPP. So with this, how it's calculated is the max amount a loan that you can get is 2.5 times your monthly payroll. So I would think you take your average and you times it by 2.5 times. That's the max amount you can receive. Now in that payroll, there's other things, like I think like retirement contributions can be included. I even think health insurance benefits can be included. I provided a resource that breaks it down really well by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Really easy to read, I promise. It's not like reading law. So with this, why it is getting so much hype is because it can be forgiven if you use it for qualifying expenses, which is also in the resource that I have here. Qualifying expenses are payroll, because you're applying for payroll, and like rent and mortgage interest and stuff like that. There's a list. So you definitely want to make sure you use this money, if you receive it, for those qualifying expenses so you can get it forgiven. Now, the biggest thing that I cannot believe that I'm going to get really excited about for a second, for the nerdy me, is that this money is not taxable. And why I'm freaking out is debt forgiveness is normally taxable. Always. Not in this case. It's like free money. I mean, not literally free money, but you know what I mean. I mean, you're not getting taxed on this. So if you are trying to keep your employees employed, this is an amazing opportunity. Now, to get forgiven, you also need to use these funds within the first 8 weeks that you receive the money for those qualifying expenses. And the other thing I want to say is let's say you laid off employees recently because, you know, these are really hard times. They are saying that if you bring back those employees, you will get 100% forgiveness, because it is based on how many employees you have. So you have to still have the same amount of employees that you had before when you did the average payroll as you do by, I think it's the end of June. So you have to show you still have the same amount of employees.
So let's break this down, Heather. Two things. One, that grant is going to feel when you apply for it much like a loan, but it is not a loan. It's literally a grant. The EIDL is you're going to almost ask for it in kind of a loan feel. You actually have to go through a rep to do it. And that is something you can do at the same time you do the PPP. The thing you have to be mindful of is you can't use them for the same things.
Yeah, I'm actually going to talk about that today because, you know, I've been doing more research as usual last night and this morning. More guidance is coming out, so I want to talk about that.
Perfect. Can I put some numbers towards the PPP real quick?
Yes. Let's do that.
Let's just say if last year you had 10 employees, and last year, if you look at your payroll, of those 10 employees, let's just say, just for simple number sakes, this may not be realistic, but 10 grand. So on average per month for your 10 employees, it was 10 grand. So what you would do is take 10 grand times 2.5. That's going to give you $25,000. That's what you're going to be able to qualify for the basic potential for the 100% forgiveness. Now, Heather's going to talk about how you can actually ask for more, but for the forgiveness, it's 2.5 times whatever your average monthly payroll was last year on whatever employees you had. So again, if it was 10 employees and it was 10 grand, you times that by 2.5, and now you have $25,000. You get that $25,000. If you use it on qualifying expenses in the first 8 weeks, and you have 10 employees still left at the end of June, then you can get 100% of that $25,000 forgiven. And so, of course,
And
whatever
And
I
the
also have
other
a
thing that
question
I
here
think
as well.
is- Oh, hold on. The other thing that I want to say really quick, because this might be a question. Let me get through, because I'm still not through all the,
No
if that's
problem.
okay, through everything about this, and then we can ask questions, because I know there's a lot with this. First thing I want to say is that also self-employed people can apply for this. So it's not, you don't just have to have employees. And the payment protection program, in that summary that I provided, says how they are going to calculate it on self-employed. And it's how I interpret it right now. Again, the guidelines, which I'll talk about in a second, it's about net self-employment earnings for if you're like a Schedule C. S Corp, you obviously have payroll and all of that. Now, two things that I really want to say. With the EIDL, you apply through the SBA on the website. For the payment protection program, you have to apply through a lender. You can't apply through the SBA. So you need to go to a lender that has that deals with SBA loans, and I included the top 100 SBA lenders that a client actually sent me the list. You might be on this call. So, you know, really, really helpful. So I just want to say that. And the other thing with the guidance is that I have a feeling from what we're all of us practitioners, how we're interpreting this, is that if you take out the EIDL 10,000 grant and the PPP, the EIDL will be wrapped up into the PPP for forgiveness. So again, I wish I had so much more information, but even the lenders, they were supposed to be able to take applications as of this morning, because they were supposed to receive all the guidance from the federal government last night. Did not happen. So there is supposed to be an update call, I guess, noon, I think, today to lenders. So hopefully there is more guidance on this about how they're going to deal with all of this. But the other thing I want to say is there's only a certain amount of money allotted in this bill for these programs. So, you know, I've been getting at questions, should I wait? Should I wait? I might be able to qualify for more if I wait, or I don't know if I'd recommend that, because I have a feeling a lot of people need this money, and I think a lot of people are going to apply for this. So I think that's everything I wanted to say. Al, did I miss anything?
Just real quick, let's just based on my example of the $25,000, which was an average of $10,000 a month, they can apply for more than the 25, right?
With the PPP, it looks like the max amount is 2.5 times your monthly payroll that you can get. With the EIDL, I know for sure you can apply for more than the 10,000 grant.
Tell me where the extra 4% loans that I could borrow as a small business, which is normally way higher as far as rate. Tell me how that works.
Yeah, so so definitely through the EIDL, I think the maximum interest rate that they can do on the EIDL is 3.75. The way that I interpret the PPP of max interest rate is 4 is, let's say you didn't qualify for forgiveness, like you didn't actually use the money for the qualifying expenses, then it would become a loan because it's not going to be forgivable, right? So, but these interest rates are still very low. I mean, on average, a business loan is between 9 and 10%. So if you're able to get these loans for, 3 to max 4%, that's really relatively low. The other thing I wanted to say is, if you are going to go after both because you need both, you can apply for both. The EIDL, I would recommend applying for operating costs, and the PPP to apply for payroll. You don't want to apply for duplicative costs because then that could mess up forgiveness and how much you're able to apply for.
Yeah, are you able to elaborate on that? Because that was one of my questions. It said you can, or my question was, you can apply for both, which is exciting, but then you said you can't use it for the same thing. So,
Well, yeah, because like the EIDL, they're saying that, how can I explain this? They're saying that, like, let's say you apply for the EIDL for payroll too, and you get the money for payroll, and then you go and apply for the PPP, but you've already gotten a loan from the SBA for payroll. They're not allowing you to get both for duplicative reasons. Does that
right.
make sense?
It definitely makes sense. And then this will actually tie into a second question because with the PPP, right, it is for payroll. I had someone tell me that 75% of those monies should be used for payroll. But then when I was looking at another sheet, it said you don't have to use it for payroll. You can use it for rent and utilities. Is there any, do you have to use it for and maybe I should give an example. So very similar, I think his name was Steve, who asked a question. I just started my business less than a month ago, and my payroll expenses are extremely minimal, but my rent is like $7,000 a month. So easily going to be able to use that EIDL and the payroll towards those things. And I just want to make sure that I don't get in trouble or I end up, not being able to use things the way I need to.
Yeah, so in your situation, it's interesting. I would actually say you're probably the max amount, it's determined, the loan amount is determined by your payroll. So if your payroll is really low, it might not make sense for you to go after the PPP. It probably makes sense for you to go after the EIDL for that rent. Now with the PPP, you are right in the fact that you can use that money that you qualify for towards other expenses that are on the list of qualifying expenses for forgiveness. And one of those is rent.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to use it for payroll, but the loan amount is determined by payroll, but then you can use those amounts for the other things that are listed on that great summary from the U.S. Chamber, the list of qualifying
Right.
expenses.
Yeah. I'm glad we read the same thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I hope that answers your question.
It does. And then this is going to tie into Steve's question kind of again, because for the EIDL, and I don't know if I was in the wrong place, but for the microloans, for the SBA loans, for all those things, a lot of them are saying you need 2 years worth of tax returns or you need to be in business for a year. But for the disaster thing, they're saying now from January 30th, if we started our business after that time, do you think we can still qualify? Because from everything I've read, it sounds like we don't.
I would love to tell you that I memorized that exact thing, but I would have to look it up. It should be in that summary, definitely on the PPP. I know there is information on that with the dates. I definitely do not have every single thing memorized, so I can't
That's totally
answer
fine.
directly, but the resources I gave you on the SBA and the US Chamber should answer those.
Okay.
And there is some potential, right, that you could, if you started a business January 1 of 2020, there is the potential that they are going to allow you to average your 2 months payroll January, February. Did I hear that right, Heather?
Yeah, I'd have to look up on that, but I think it's on like page 3. I don't know if I'm going to click if this is going to like mess up everything, so bear with me.
It is. I'm changing it. But I will tell you, as far as what you were just mentioning, for payroll, it said that you can use last year's payroll or this year's payroll, totaling a month worth of payment. So even if you use the last month, I believe Steve is his name, he's in the clear, but I literally started my business March 1st, so I don't even have a full month's worth of payroll. The good news is the business was already in existence and I can prove payroll for the last few years. So I'm hoping I have some wiggle room around that.
Well, I talked to a lender because they're going to get the exact guidelines on how they can qualify you for the PPP. So I would go directly to the lender because they're literally in the process of writing the guidelines, that they were supposed to receive them last night, like how they're going to qualify people, all of that. So I would really recommend talking to a lender, as they'll be able to help you and tell you if you can qualify. I'm not a lender, so I don't know what the, underwriting guidelines are going to be.
No worries. You all have given so much more information, and I really appreciate it.
Don't worry, I got more. More's coming. There's not just
Cool.
these loans. So.
And there is one last question, and sorry if I'm hogging the mic. This hopefully will count for other people. So for businesses who had to close, right, and so that they told their employees, hey, go home, essentially, until they figure this thing out. When you're applying for the PPP, you have to be paying your employees. So if you bring them back and you pay them, or you just say, hey, I'll pay you, but you don't have to work because your business is closed, because there was that lapse in payment, is that going to disqualify, or do you know if that works?
Yeah, so that's what I was talking about before, is that you can bring back your employees to qualify for 100% forgiveness, but you have to go back to the amount of employees you had, and that calculation is literally in the summary that I just brought up. So it tells you everything in there. Like that 4-page summary should give you most information. Like, it is incredible. It really easily walks it through. I'm really impressed by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. I'm really proud of them, actually. They did a really good job.
Perfect. What else you got for us, Heather?
All right. So if you are not going to go the PPP route, it's very important that I say, if you are not going to go the PPP route, there are other options. So there is the employee retention credit and employer payroll taxes that can basically be like a 0% interest loan. So delayed. So an employee retention credit. So let's say your business had to close or stop operations because of government authority right now, or you had a significant decrease in your gross receipts, which means that your gross receipts are cut by 50%. So that's just revenue, not net profit, revenue. It's determined on a quarterly basis. So, I would make like a little fun spreadsheet or something and be like Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, 2019, and then what's going on in 2020. If your revenue is down by more than 50%, you can actually get a credit against payroll taxes. So, and it's 50% of compensation paid up to $10,000 per employee. So that's another option. The other thing is you can delay payroll taxes if you don't go the PPP route. So they can be deferred from the time this bill was enacted to the end of the year. And how it's deferred is 50% can be deferred up until the end of next year, and the remaining 50% will be due the end of 2022. Now, it's the employer portion, and yes, self-employment taxes has an employee and an employer portion, so yes, this applies to self-employed as well. It is the FICA portion, the 6.2%. It does not include Medicare. So those two cannot be used per the legislation if you are applying for a PPP loan. But if you aren't going after that because you don't qualify under payroll and all that, and maybe you just go after the EIDL, then you can think about these as well. The other things I want to say is, if you already have SBA loans, they are completely deferring payments and interest on those as well, I believe for 6 months. People that I know, clients of mine who have had those loans, have actually been notified by their banks. So that's great. If your business is booming because you are a toilet paper company or some kind of business that's not affected by this, what a great way to pay off your business loans faster without interest being calculated. So those are the options that that are there for small businesses with this. So I hope that as a business owner, this gives you some good tools. And I would say, the government is really trying to help small businesses because we boost the economy. So, you know, if you need the money, there are options for you.
It's all really great. Yeah, I know it's a lot for everyone to take in. That's why we want to provide you this PowerPoint. Heather, is this a good time to open up to more questions?
Yeah, and let's go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
This is Michelle. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, sorry. So when you talk about payroll, I've got LLCs. Heather, as you know, we have 3. So we don't really pay ourselves. It's just whatever money comes in, then we pay our expenses, and then we take some distributions. So how would that work for us to try to get some compensation for the fact that there's no money to give distributions for?
Well, in your LLCs, they go through to your 1040 and then you pay self-employment on that. So it's the self-employment tax, the employer portion. So 50% of self-employment on the 6.2, you can defer.
Okay. But in terms of getting money.
Oh, you mean for the PPP and the grant?
Yes.
So in the guide, they talk about that. So you can still apply, definitely, because it goes then, especially, you'll still be able to apply. It talks about it. I can't tell you how they're going to calculate it in your situation because there's just not enough guidance out there, but it clearly states you can still apply.
Okay, so I would apply for both the PPP and the EIDL, the $10,000 grant?
If you need the money, keep in mind that the EIDL, you want to not apply for duplicative costs. That's number 1. So EIDL operating, PPP payroll, income. And the EIDL might not be able to be forgiven. It will be probably wrapped up in your PPP. So you might either have a loan that you have to repay, or it's limiting your PPP amount you can get.
Okay. And when you said that, I didn't catch the distinction between the EIDL and the $10,000 grant.
So when you apply with the EIDL, you can actually apply for more than the 10,000 grant. So let's say you apply for $100,000. The 10,000 can be forgiven and not paid back. The other portion is at a very low interest rate.
Understood.
And those payments, I believe, can be deferred like 6 months and sometimes up to a year. I think they're deferring even the loan payments on those.
Yay. Okay. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate it.
Any other questions? Awesome. All right. I think, Al, do you want to close with anything?
You know, even with the PPP, the other programs, there is only going to be so much money for those as well. And the same mindset applies as far as just being mindful, not being in scarcity, and not doing things that are going to end up being decisions based on just scarcity. And with all of this money, it is truly only going to go so far. And so if you really do need it, then please, by all means, go for it. But if you don't, and you're just trying to work a system, that's where it gets very tricky for a lot of reasons. So just be super mindful with that. At this point in time, for even being a small business and having my business for 13 plus years, I'm not looking at any of these things personally for no other reason than I have a lot of opportunities and a lot of options. My business doesn't require it as of right now. And I feel the same feelings of like, honestly, kind of like, oh shit, like most of my clients are small businesses. Most of my clients, you know, this is a luxury item in a lot of ways. I mean, it's not like a requirement. So my business has the potential to be greatly affected. I'm fortunate enough to have really great clients and clients that have operated very mindfully. But I've already seen some subtle effect. But where I'm focusing my energy personally, because I'm not in some big course correction mode, because my business didn't get wiped out like that. I have clients who have 5 restaurants, own 5 restaurants. That's a whole different scenario than the scenario I am in. And it's a whole different experience. And you better believe they're going to be going for the PPP and all these other things, because it's absolutely important for them to do so. But again, for me, I want to use this feeling of unsettledness that this time is creating to be more creative, to do more things, to look at how I can grow my business in other ways. What are the things that I've been waiting to do that are other areas of revenue or opportunities? So for me personally, I'm actually taking advantage of this time as well. But instead of applying for programs, I'm going to use this unsettled feeling that I have to be more creative, to be more diverse in my business, and to do some different things. Now, not everyone's going to do that. Like I said, my client who owns 5 restaurants, he's going to be doing some of that, but he's definitely applying for these programs. It's definitely important. So you have to decide yourself how much that you use this and why, and just be as mindful as you possibly can, because sometimes when we create these securities, it almost creates the too comfortable kind of feeling where we're not motivated. This time in all of our lives, whether it's personal or business, is meant to be a gift. A lot of us have been stagnant, and honestly, myself included. I'm very fortunate to have the business I have, but I haven't done a lot of the things that have been on my to-do list of diversification or other opportunities that I've wanted to do, because I've just been living the status quo. My business is really good, doing my thing. I don't have to do much different. And now this, for me and for basically a lot of people, it's like, okay, it's time not to be stagnant anymore. Let's use this time. Let's use this energy. Let's be really creative. Let's leverage what we can. And again, by all means, use the programs if you need them, but be mindful as you do all of this stuff. And no matter if you use the programs or not, use this time to create new with it.
I love that. The other ask I have for everyone is, please share this information to people that can really benefit from this. That's why I'm doing this. I know that these are some hard times for a lot of people, and I'm trying to help as many people as I can with the information I have. So share it. If you do need help on your individual situation, you can work with me on an hourly rate. But I am, reserving my time for my current clients right now. That's why I did this webinar, and I'm sending out newsletters and trying to get the information that I do have out. But if you have questions on your individual situation, feel free to contact me, and we can set something up. So, but share it, and this is really great. It's going to help a lot of small businesses and a lot of people get some money back in our economy during this hard time, and we will get through this. Just don't act in fear. Fear is when the worst financial decisions are made. I've seen that. So I like what Al said. He keeps me grounded. So yeah, that's all I got to say. And thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
One thing.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Heather. Sorry.
The link I just.
Thank you, Heather.
Hold on, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you, Heather.
Hi, Lauren.
Hi, it was awesome. You guys rule.
Yeah, I just created a quick link so you could download directly from my Dropbox. It's bit.ly, bit.ly/Heather and Al. And if you put that in your browser, it'll go straight to the Dropbox, so that you can copy that file of the program. bit.ly/Heather and Al. And that'll get you to the package.
Heather?
Yeah.
Do you guys have time for one more question?
Sure. It depends on who it's from.
I'm actually asking for a friend. For real. I got a text, and it was basically asking, like, she has enough to get her through this month, but she's worried that if she does like pay the mortgage and the bills and everything this month, that like next month there might not be enough. However, at the same time, like she doesn't want to get into a place where she's playing catch up either on the other end. So do you have a recommendation? Do you think she should try to defer now or try to pay in part now and then like hold on to some stuff for next month? Because that's kind of where my mind went to, is like, but what do you, and I'm sorry, I had to hop off for a North and Co call. So if I missed this, I apologize.
Well, is she a business or is she not a business?
Individual.
But she's still working or she isn't?
No.
Well, she should apply for unemployment, I would tell her.
That's what yeah. But she's asking like for her bills and stuff, does she just ask to get them deferred and hope that like later she can pay them, or should she pay them in part now? I think that's her question.
It depends on what the bills are, honestly. That's so dependent on an individual situation. Without seeing her individual situation, I can't say. So, I mean, definitely the federal student loans do it. Like there's no reason not to.
Mm-hmm.
But the others, it will depend on our situation.
Okay, I'll let her know. You might hear from her. Thank you.
Cool. AJ, did you have a question?
I just wanted to say real quick, if you applied for this SBA disaster relief program prior to Monday, you must do it again. They've streamlined the process. Before you had to upload documents and scan in documents. Now it's just a worksheet. So if you've done it before Monday, you must do it again.
Oh,
Interesting.
Thank you for that. I think I started, but I never finished.
I've also heard it's been crashing like a lot, the website. So like it's advised to do it early in the morning or at night because so many people are applying.
Yeah, and I also wanted to say that this is time sensitive. So if you're thinking about it, just apply because there's only
They
so
can always
much.
deny you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there is only so much. That's what there's going to be so many people applying because so many people need it.
well, thank you all so much. Heather, you're amazing. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you both.
For those people who can either now or in the future use a financial advisor / planner, she's such a great soul. She does this because she truly loves this. And when you can find people who are passionate in their fields, you grab them, you hold on to them because they're magical people. So thank you so much, Heather.
Yes, thank you both of you so much for taking time out of your day for us.
Yeah, you guys share it. We will get through this.
And,
all right,
and
have a great day.
Yep, and how do I get your emails or stuff? I thought you all said that you were posting it somewhere and I'm not seeing it.
Oh, it's on the link. If you go to, it's on our PowerPoint slides where you can get those resources too that I had. So Al, do you want to say that link one more time?
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's bit.ly, bit.ly/Heather and Al. If you type that into your browser, you'll get the PowerPoint. And follow us on Instagram. That would be great. That's always beneficial. So I appreciate that as well.
Yeah, and I'm sending out more information in my newsletter. There's other goodies in here. There's so much. I'm calling my third one the mixed bag, and some of this is in here, but there's some other stuff that is smaller but still good to know. So
perfect. You guys all have an amazing day.
Thank you. You
bye.
too.
Bye.